And that's kind of where I felt as a father and husband, because that little spirit that we did have in our home, it slowly creeped away. We slowly lost that. I let the adversary in my home, and he didn't just come in, he kicked that door down. I know Carla said it, that if the adversary could get to the mother, that the whole family falls. And it's true. And I allowed it.
So, one thing about me is I love my naps. Like, especially a good Sunday nap after church. That is the best. I just love a cozy nap. The Cozy Earth sheets are so silky and they're soft, and they just make taking a nap just the best experience. My sheets in the past have been cotton, they're really scratchy. The thing that's really nice about the Cozy Earth sheets is they keep me cool at night. My husband loves them. My kids are always wanting to sleep in our bed. We got to kick them out because they love how cozy and soft our sheets are. You can try them today with a 100-night sleep trial. Try them out. If you don't love them, return them hassle-free, but trust me, you're not going to want to return them. They're so nice. There's a 10-year warranty because once you feel this level of comfort, you're going to want it to last. So head to cozyearth.com and use my code COMEBACK for 20% off. And if you get a post-purchase survey, make sure to let them know that you heard about Cozy Earth right here on the Comeback Podcast. Because home isn't just where you live, it's how you feel. So let's go home with Cozy Earth. Want to give a shout out to Mike's Auto Shack. You guys may remember him from our last event, but this guy is as good as they get. I love him so much. And he's actually helped Trent, our director of operations for Comeback Foundation, find a car. My husband and I are going to be using him to buy our next car. He is the best. Mike and his team have been helping find quality cars for over 20 years. You pay Mike a flat fee and he sources quality used cars from top auctions. You name your price, and Mike will do everything he can to find the perfect used car for you. Mike has helped hundreds of families find the perfect car over the years, and no matter what you're looking for, if Mike is unable to find your car in your budget, you pay nothing. Reach out to Mike today to find your next car. Mike'sAutoShack.com or call 702-457-3536. Okay, Shane, I cannot tell you how excited I am to have you on the podcast. We just released Carla's episode yesterday, and like we had this crazy build up to getting Carla's story on the podcast because I had tried to record with her. The recording was having issues. And so I felt like, you know what, maybe this is meant to be. And she is supposed to be our live podcast at the event. And so it was meant to be. And Carla was our live episode. And now we get to hear your story after hearing her story, which is just going to be so interesting. And I am so excited.
I appreciate you having me on. Before I begin, I just want to tell you your Comeback to Christ event. I expressed it to Carla, but I think it was so spiritual. It was probably, I've had a lot of spiritual moments in this church, but coming to that weekend, I mean, between you, your staff, the guests, the attendees, it was so wonderful. Passing testimony on Sunday, I was the first one up, and I was just so excited and just so fed, you know, and just felt the atonement so strong in there. And like you said, it was like being amongst our people. It's
Mm-hmm.
kind of the first time I was comfortable in my own skin. So I just wanted to say thank you for you and your staff, and it was a wonderful, amazing event. So
Oh my
thank you for that.
gosh. Thank you so much.
It was awesome.
Well, I have something exciting for you. You are the first recipient of the men's version of the disciple necklace right here.
Cool. Thank you.
I am so
Awesome.
excited to have you be the first person. Well, I did give Trent our head of operations one already, but this says disciple on it.
Awesome.
And it is, I'm going to send it out to you today so that you can have it by the end of this week. But
That's awesome.
I'm so excited to give it to you. You are just like the perfect, like, first person to receive this. So I'm,
Thank you. I appreciate it. Appreciate it.
yes.
Thank you.
So I know at the event we gave out gifts to all the we gave memoir jewelry to all the guests that had been on the podcast, but I didn't have anything for men, and so now I do, and you are the
Oh, how
first
cool.
one, so it's exciting.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, well, let's go ahead and jump into your story. I know people have a little bit of background on you guys, but I'd love to just start from the beginning. Let's start
Okay.
with your childhood.
I was raised by a Protestant family. My mom and dad. There's been so many blessings in my life that I can look back on, but one of the greatest blessings I've had is my parents. I was truly blessed to have a loving mother, a loving father. Um, Growing up, I can't remember any incidents where I felt where they made me feel horrible about my life or anything. There wasn't a night I didn't go to sleep without a hug, kiss, and I love you. And that's something I'm super grateful for. Like I said, I've had a lot of blessings, but that's been an amazing one. So we're Protestant. We really didn't go to church too often. We went through little phases where we'd go and then we didn't go. I always knew God, but I didn't really have, my own story or my own testimony of it. Um, I had one brother. He was an amazing example to me. He was a letterman in soccer, football, and track in high school. He went on to the military, actually retired from the military. So it was always another prime example, good example in my life. I was kind of the black sheep. Um, I and probably when I was 6 years old, my dad was a drummer, or not 6 years. Yeah, probably about 6 years old. My dad was a drummer. He got me a drum set, so I fell in love with music. In elementary, I played Guns N' Roses. Was in the junior high um, talent show. In high school, I got into the punk rock scene. That's kind of where my adventure began. I was never a bad kid, but I hung out with more rebellion, probably not who my parents wanted me to hang out with and grow up to be. But that's kind of where my path began. I met Carla, my wife. I met her when I was about 14. She was dating the singer in my band. And so we started kind of hanging out that way. I knew her just as an acquaintance, as a friend. When I was about 15, my parents got into a divorce. And it was really hard on me. We were a loving family. I mean, we ate dinner together. It was a pretty close family. So it was pretty heartbreaking for me. So at that time, I kind of leaned on Carla and her family. And that was my first taste of the LDS church. Growing up in the Protestant faith, you kind of have classes and stuff that talk about the LDS church. So I had one version of it, but once I met them and I felt the love and their home, and her mom took me in. I mean, I ate all her food, drank all her drinks. Summertime, I hung out there day and night. Um, so me and Carla became really close friends. Uh, when she was having her struggle with her mom that she kind of talked about, sorry, our stories are probably this is where we kind of start mashing. She came in and moved in with me. We were just best friends. I mean, I used to stay the night at her house. She stayed the night at my house. But when she moved in with me, something changed. I always kind of had a crush on her, I'll admit. But I never thought it would ever turn into that. But we ended up having our first child. And that's when life kind of hit us. We both loved each other, I think, in a different way than romantically. But we both loved, appreciated each other. Instantly, I went to work. I was a 17-year-old kid. I was working 14, 16-hour days, trying to survive. We had our little apartment that we were paying for. And we just continued with life. We raised our kids the best we could. When I turned 21, I decided to get baptized. I had the missionaries come over. I just felt it was the right thing to do to raise my kids in a church setting. I wasn't real familiar with the church. I went a few times with Carla, but wasn't real familiar. So I got baptized at 21, and we started going to church right after that. I think I received my Aaronic priesthood. And shortly after that, we kind of just faded away. We didn't go in a bad direction. It just wasn't the right ward for us, wasn't the right situation. We went about life. I worked. I'm a workaholic, always have been. My wife was a beautiful, wonderful mother. I mean, she said team mom. She was the AD for the football team. So raising kids, we were involved in all the sports. We did all the things. I mean, everything that a parent could do. Basically, Carla did most of it. Our story kind of changed our 10-year reunion. We went to our high school 10-year reunion. We met up with friends. Of course, we're all in different situations. Punk rockers that used to have mohawks and stuff are now policemen and nurses. And we're all in a different situation now. But I think that was the first time that me and Carla had an adult night out. We went to the bar with all of our friends, had a couple drinks, and really enjoyed ourselves. So that connection kind of built up that social profile. Now we're adults. We can kind of enjoy this a little more. We're going to do a little bit more with our adult friends. And that started UFC parties. I was a big UFC fan back then. So we did the pay-per-view every month. Got pizza, beer, alcohol. And a few friends turned into a bunch of friends and then friends of friends. Every month our parties got bigger and bigger. And that's kind of where I felt as a father and husband, because that little spirit that we did have in our home, it slowly creeped away. We slowly lost that. I let the adversary in my home, and he didn't just come in, he kicked that door down. I know Carla said it, that if the adversary could get to the mother, that the whole family falls. And it's true. And I allowed it. So the more the party went on, drugs came into it. I mean, things got a little rougher. Um, and everyone kind of knows Carla's story now, that she got addicted to pills. At that time, I was a dumb 30-year-old. I didn't grow up with any addiction around me. That wasn't in my family. I didn't really have friends that were besides drinking here and there. And I didn't understand mental health. So she was basically left with a partner that was a big dummy, that didn't understand anything that was going on. I thought she was just kind of changing and going through things and didn't understand what was going on. And she kept falling down deeper and deeper and deeper. Like I said, as soon as I let that adversary in my home, he went to town. He went to town on her. He went to town. Before I knew it, I mean, I turned around and life was upside down. Um, we ended up putting Carla in rehab up in Oregon. Um, and when I put her in there, I went away. I took the kids away. I went away. We disappeared. And when she went up there, she called me within a couple weeks and was complaining, that it's a bad place, weird people, and this and that. Me being who I was, went to go save my baby, right? And when I should have left her. But back then, I couldn't stand for her to suffer. So I went out there, got her, and when we got home, there was something that changed. Um, she felt that I betrayed her. She felt that I wasn't that partner anymore. I wasn't that best friend. So as time went on, I came home one day from work and she told me, "Hey, Shane, you know what? I love you to death. You're my best friend, but I don't love you like that anymore." Um, and that was probably one of the toughest things I've ever heard, because I knew where it was going. And so we tried to make it work. I thought the right thing was to stay in the house. She went on and had a relationship, but I thought it was the right thing to try to keep my family together. That's the right thing to do. Still play the role, but inside I was dying. I think I lost about 70 pounds. I started drinking more heavy. Things just kept getting worse and worse and worse. It got to the point where I always had hope she'd come back, but she wasn't ready. She still had that betrayal. She was sick herself, but once again, I didn't understand that. I didn't understand the addiction part of life and how people think. And um, so I got to probably the lowest, darkest point in my life. Um, I kept fighting it, kept thinking about suicide, kept thinking about suicide, think about all the ways I can do it. Um, but I wanted it to not be damaging to my family. I didn't want anyone to find me. I didn't want any of my parents to see pictures. So I came up with this great idea to walk in the desert. So I got in my truck. I went up to the desert. I walked for about a day. My plan was to walk as far as I could, slit my wrist, and there was no way back. Right? There was no help. My phone wasn't on me. There was nothing I can do. But during that time, that was probably the first time that God talked to me. He started showing me my kids' faces. He started showing me everything that I did have in life. Even though I was so down and depressed, that little bit of light that he showed me was what saved me. I mean, that walk was what saved me. So I came back. I walked back um, another day back to the truck, and I went and checked myself into a mental hospital. There they realized how bad off I was and just put me on some crazy antidepressants. I mean, I remember being more numb than I ever have been in life, just a zombie. But they put me on all that, and on top of that, when I got out, I started using drugs again, started drinking on top of that. At the time, my good buddy of mine, he was also on a drug path. And me and him got together and came up with a great idea to do something that I would never think to ever do. And I got arrested short time after that. Got convicted, and they put me 24 months in state prison was my sentence. Uh, so here I am. I used to be a football dad. I ran a successful company. I had the big, beautiful house, the toy haulers, the motorcycles, everything you could ever want. I threw it away, over nothing. And here I was now a prisoner, uh, California State Prison. And while I was in reception, I know Carla talked about her mother. Um, she's such a saint, such a. At my son's baptism the other day, I told her, um, it's because of her prayers and her putting our name in that temple every week is the reason why we're here. Uh, she just she did it on her own, and all her family's coming around. It's beautiful to watch, and that's because of her faith. But anyways, when I was in there, she sent me the Book of Mormon. She sent me Gordon B. Hinckley's book, Standing for Something, and she sent me this 12-step program. Um, so while I was in there in California State Prison, you go to reception for about 3 months where they figure out who you are, your point level, where they're going to send you. So in there, I read the Book of Mormon twice. In there, I started feeling the spirit. I remember there was a guy next to me in this bunk. He was getting beat up by a couple guys. And I was just sitting there reading my Book of Mormon. And I just remember the pepper spray come, and I just put my shirt over my face and kept reading. And I remember a guard looking at me like, "What are you doing? Get out of here." But I was just in such peace in that darkness with that Book of Mormon in front of me, feeling that spirit. It was the first time where I was like, okay, this is it. So from there in reception, you really didn't have the chapel. You didn't have any church time. But when I got to my yard finally 3 months later, I remember I knelt down and I prayed and said, please let me meet another member. I didn't know nothing about the church. I didn't know nothing about the gospel. I mean, I read this book. It's amazing. There's some cool stories in there. I mean, some gory stories and cool stuff, but it didn't really, I needed more. I needed someone to kind of show me what this was about. Growing up on the Bible, I kind of knew some of it. But so when I got to my yard, I got on my knees and I prayed, please, let me find someone, meet someone. And I went to the phone to finally talk to Carla and the kids after 3 months. I remember looking to the left and there was a little poster, and it said LDS church service Sunday at 10 a.m. And that was the first time I was like, okay, I've heard about prayers being answered, but I mean, that was instant. So that Sunday I went to church and then I walked in the room and there was one other person in there. There was one other inmate. And thank God for him, because he knew a little bit more than me, but not a lot. But we went through the 12-step program with a couple other guys. We read every night, and it was just fellowship. And that's when I first realized that, okay, there's something about this church and something about this gospel that makes me feel good, and I could see the good in it. I mean, here's 4 guys sitting around the table doing the 12-step program and just seeing the light. And here's 2 other people that don't know nothing about the church that are hearing about it. So, but while I was in there, there was always peace. I mean, I remember times when I would get a bunkie that I wasn't comfortable with, and I knew was going to bring trouble to me, and I'd pray, and he would disappear. He'd be transferred. He would get in a fight that day on the yard, and he'd be gone. And it was just tender mercies like that over and over and over, and just safety and comfort, always protection. There was a time where I called Carla, and she struggled. I mean, she was on her own. Thank God her parents paid her rent and her car and her insurance. So she wasn't with nothing, but she had to, deal with 4 kids and welfare and food stamps. But I called her one night and she said, babe, we have no food. The dogs are out of food. All I have is $20. So I'm going to go to Walmart and maybe get some mac and cheese and a couple canned dog food, and hopefully something happens. Hopefully something changes here, because I don't know how I'm going to keep doing this. But I went back to my bed and I prayed. I remember praying so hard, because here was me, who's 17 years old, is taking care of this family. I've given every time, every energy, everything I had to make sure that her and the kids had whatever I could provide for them. And as a father and a husband, you just feel helpless. There's nothing you can do. You can't pick up the phone. You can't go get a loan from the officer and shoot it her way. But I remember getting down and I just prayed as hard as I could, like, please don't let my kids and my wife suffer because of my sins. And that was my prayer. Don't make them suffer anymore because of me. That night, Carla, next night I called Carla, and she told me she went to Walmart. She was checking out, and her total came to like $24. She only had 20, so she put the dog food away. Of course, the kids came first, and the lady behind her, said, "Don't worry about it. I'll pay for that." Paid that $5. But while she was getting in her car, the lady ran out and gave her $100 Walmart gift card. And then once again, I was like, okay, you hear me. And these are instant. These things are happening. I'm not waiting weeks. I'm not waiting days. They're instant. There's a dumb story. Her wanted to go to the concert with someone that I wasn't comfortable with her going, one of her friends, and just knew it wasn't the right place with what she's been recovering. And I prayed about her not going to that. And there was a giant earthquake in California and she didn't go. So,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, so there was weird things that just kept occurring where he's like, hey, I got you. And these things are happening in my darkest days. I always tell people when you're in prison, you're with the adversary. This is his playground. People are doing drugs. People are getting beat up. Evil's good. Evil's
Yep.
good. The guys going to church on Sunday are weirdos. But this evilness, this adversary energy, this is good. But that was the first time. So when I came out of prison, um, I was on fire for it. I was like, all right, the Gordon B. Hinckley book, it showed me, hey, this is how you be a man. This is how you be a father. This is how you raise a family. This is how you're a good person. This is how you're Christ-like. So I kind of had that as my roadmap. I was going to get out and do good. Well, when I get out, you all know, Carla's story of that's her mother's church. And she said, heck no, you are not going to be a part of that church. If you are, I don't want nothing to do with you. And at that point it was like, all right, I've been away from my family. I was blessed to get all my career back. I was blessed to get everything back. We still had some climbing up the ladder to do, but I was handing back pretty much my life back, and I wasn't going to lose her and my kids again. So I let the church go. And as Carla said, the honeymoon phase ended real quick. She says a couple of days. I thought it was more of a week, but that honeymoon phase, it went away real quick, and it went back to, I would say, worse than before, because now there was resentment. Now I had anger against her because I had 2 years to think about my life. I was able to look back and see that weak man that I became, and I put some of that blame on her, which it shouldn't. Me as a man, that's on me. But that's kind of was my mentality when I came out. So that love, that I'll do anything for you, that was gone. Now you're just my partner again. Um, so things got real worse. Like she said, she went through her deep depression. She literally probably laid in bed for 9 months to a year. I would get up every once in a while, do little things, but that time, my kids had trauma. My teenagers were running amok, drinking, doing drugs. There was, partying in my garage. It was crazy. I look back now, I can't even believe who I was. But she was in her dark days, and you heard her story about the bishop. Um, and things were getting worse. I was living in my garage, or in my car, actually. I was living in the car, taking showers in the office. Um, just doing really bad, waiting for that divorce, trying to figure out my next step. And she called me one time and said, I'm going to church. And I said, no, you're not. And if you are, it's just a little whatever. It's a little fluke. Piece of me was like, I wanted this so bad, and now you want it, whatever. So she started going. I noticed she kept going. And one day I walked into the house for some reason. I didn't live there, but I walked in and she redid the whole living room. And there was she redid some furniture, blankets, pillows. She had some kind of church music on YouTube on the TV. And I walked in that house and I felt this new spirit about that house. It was kind of that same feeling I felt in prison when it was dark. And I just, but it was so light around me. I walked in there, I was like, whoa. She had a picture of the Savior, a little picture on the table. I just remember thinking like, okay, this feels good. So I started going back to church with her. Um, I can't say enough about how great that ward was that we walked into. There were so many amazing people. I mean, here I was now a felon, tattooed. Um, During my time of um, when I got out of prison, I was doing drugs and alcohol nonstop. Still taking better care of my business life because that's really at the point that all I cared about. But everything else, being a father, being a husband, was all drowned out by alcohol, cocaine, every weekend cocaine. Um, just living a bad life. So here I'm walking in that church with all that on my mind. You're just getting off cocaine, you're just getting off alcohol, you just stopped smoking, you're tattooed, you're sinful, you're a felon. All this on top of me, and I tell you what, I don't think there was one person in that building that looked at me sideways. And there wasn't a man in there that didn't come up and give me a hug. There were so many wonderful people. There was a guy, Junior. He was an Islander, big Samoan. He's half Samoan Tongan, and he just grabbed me by the arms, hugged me always, would be super strong. He'd always tell me, he tells you how he feels. His testimony's strong, and he would beat it and get up there and tell your testimony. He was that kind of guy. But just a great example. There was another brother in that ward that it ended up he was a police officer, and I feared it. I feared getting close with him. But it turned out that he was the greatest example to me. He was the greatest man. He showed me what it was like to be a priesthood holder. He showed me what it was like to be a husband, to be a father, to love your ward, to love Christ. He became the elders quorum president, and he brought me in as minister and secretary. And I remember one time we had to. It was a big ward, but a lot of non-members. California, it's kind of a thing, and we didn't have that many priesthood holders. So he kind of had to redo assignments to make sure those that needed the priesthood had it. So it was kind of like a triage thing. And I just remember looking at him and seeing the sadness in his eyes when he had to say, well, this guy doesn't answer the door. This guy doesn't, answer the phone. And, I had those same dark feelings like, what are these people going through? I know what it's like to not have the gospel or to walk away from it. And now this is what these people are feeling. But those are the type of amazing men and women that we had in that ward. And it was just, like I said, that's another blessing that God put in our place. They brought us back, gave us a purpose, gave us callings. Shortly after that, a year later, me and Carla, we got sealed in the temple, which was amazing. Um, I remember always thinking to be sealed to someone eternal, for eternal. And I was just like, man, that's the weirdest thing. But after we got involved in the church, and after I realized how beautiful it is and how much I loved her, and there's that song, 1,000 years. Um, Loved you for 1,000 years and love you for 1,000 more. We actually got it tattooed on our fingers. And that meant so much more to me because that's what it was. I loved her before, and now I get to love her forever. And it just is the sweetest thing, and just our marriage and the blessings that have come since us taking that commitment with each other and with the church. It's been amazing. Um, then we moved out to Utah here. Um, Came out to it's a little different culture out here with the church. But me and her already have our testimony. We have our calling. I'm a gospel doctrine teacher, and I love it. I love
Oh
I love
my
my
gosh, that is
I love
awesome.
my class. That Sunday after come back um, come back to Christ event, I use that. I talk the whole time about it in my class, but it's just the greatest thing. I mean, God's just blessed us with so many things. I was able to go be a temple worker now at the Payson Temple, and I just love it to death. And like Carla talked about the same moment, we kind of had the same kind of feeling. When I was sitting in the chair here, she's sitting over there, and we're officiating and just see her so beautiful and white. She looks so beautiful. People say those tattoos in the temple. I think it's the beautifulest thing. I don't know
It
if you've
is
ever
the
been to
most beautiful thing.
it's the Payson Temple. I don't know if you've been there, but it has the stairs that come down and the stained glass behind it. And sometimes I'll wait for her downstairs and she comes down. It's just so beautiful. It shows Christ's atonement so much, and just what's so great about life. But yeah, so I'm able to serve at the temple. There's been so many blessings there. I love that place. I wish I could move in. Um, But yeah, our life has just been so blessed. I mean, I look back now at the darkness, and my mother-in-law used to always say, Shane, just go to church, get the gospel. It might not be cool, it might not be fun, you might not have to deal with people that you don't like hanging out with, but it's gonna work so much. I'm like, no, it's not. You know, everybody drinks, everybody has fun, like we're doing right now. But now that I look back, I'm like, man, all the trials, everything that we could have avoided would have been. I mean, it's crazy. It's stupid the trials that we went through and put our kids through, and just the peace and the blessings that we have now. And they just continue. I mean, my professional career, this was probably my hardest year. And I didn't worry about anything. You know, I just kept giving it to Christ, just put it at his feet. When stress got hard, I just prayed harder. And the next day I woke up with the miracles and the blessings that he's put in our life. I know Carla shared the story about my son, Liam, and his baptism. I mean, it's a miracle. And that was our crazy one. That was the one I thought was going to put me in my grave. You know, and it's just been a blessing after blessing, miracle after miracle, and just to know what it's like to have the gospel. I can imagine life without it. To go back to that darkness. Um, you know, we get to talk and do fireside sometimes, and I love it. I love just being able to say, "Hey, this is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me." And this gospel's so wonderful. It is. It's the greatest thing to, and it holds you to higher standards. It's just the greatest thing that's ever happened. So, yeah, I say
I
these
love
things in the
that.
name of my son Jesus Christ. Amen. You know.
Amen. I love it. I have a couple questions for you.
Mm-hmm.
So, one of the things that I think holds people back, like I think of people in my life that I know that they feel like they're going to be judged if they go back to church. Like that people in the church are so judgmental, they just like don't understand. And like my take on this is that first of all, like you said, like you were welcomed with open arms. And I felt I had the same experience coming back. And, I
Mm-hmm.
shared the story of like how my face was always on the arrest page in Washington County,
Yeah, yeah,
and so everybody knew that I was always going to jail, and they still welcomed me with open arms. But, there's people everywhere. There is people everywhere.
yeah,
You mentioned how Utah culture is a little bit different than California. Like, there are people that, we've moved around a lot. We've been in a lot of different wards, and there are every once in a while, like, that people are people inside and
yeah.
outside of the church.
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you have for somebody that feels like they are being judged or they will be judged if they go back to church?
No, I think the biggest thing for me is there is super loving people in this church, and there's things like what you're doing, amazing things. But it all boils down to Christ. I mean, He loves us to death. I mean, look at me. I was in my darkest place I could ever be, and He was there with me. So I think the advice is just to not worry about anybody else. Just come here for Christ and to get closer, and to just to know, like I said, I'll preach it. I'll preach it day and night. I'll get on the rooftops and say, with this gospel, it's amazing. I mean, the life change that happens to me and my family. I raised two kids in the church, two out of the church, and it's amazing. It's amazing the blessings. I mean, as soon as you have Christ and understand that you can give everything to Him and He's got you, I mean, it doesn't even matter who's in your ward or who's around you. So my advice would be just to get in there and start, learning about Christ, and He's got us. He's got us. I know it. I mean, every time I'm a dummy. I'm a dummy and done dumb things and been in the darkest places, and He's right there. Come on, let's go. You know pull you right out, and He'll put all those people around you that need to be. It might not happen right away, but He'll put everybody around you that you need, and those blessings just flourish. And I don't know, there's no turning back. That'd be my advice. Just get in there, come to church, and you know, and I think the church culture is kind of changing. I talked to a lady in the temple after your event, and she told me that she can feel the shift. She was there at your event. She says that was amazing. She said there's not enough of that in the church where people can expose themselves. I've done plenty of talks where people come afterwards and like, thanks for saying that. I can't tell anybody in that ward my problems. I would never come out and say that kind of thing, and it's just, but I think there kind of is a shift and there's more avenues and more people that are coming back that, you're able to lean on. And so that's what I would say, though. Come back in. It's the greatest thing.
It is. And it's like, if we're honest about our struggles, that is literally what the Savior's atonement is all about,
Yep.
is overcoming hard things and being able to really become new creatures through Christ. And by sharing that, there's a quote. It used to be in the LDS 12-step manual. I think they don't have it in the manual anymore, but I believe it's from Howard W. Hunter, and it says, if you have partaken of the Savior's atoning sacrifice, you are under obligation to bear witness. And I take that very seriously
Oh, yeah.
because just like you said, like, you will shout it from the rooftops, because when you have experienced such a drastic transformation in your life, it's
Mm-hmm.
like, who cares if people are judging you? Who cares if people are thinking, oh my gosh, like, she went to jail, that's crazy, or oh my gosh, he like has a bunch of tattoos, he was in prison, that's crazy. Like, who cares? Because at the
Yep.
end of the day, the thing that's really beautiful about this is that the Savior's atoning sacrifice is for everybody. It's for
Yep.
everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And really, the transformative power of that is so incredible. And you can see it in your countenance and in Carla's countenance. And
I appreciate it.
man, you guys are so amazing. And I hope that you are at every Come Back to Christ event until the end of time, because you guys are just, you embody what the mission of the Comeback Foundation is. You
Yeah,
embody that.
me and Carla were talking about the foundation that you're creating and the group of people. It's amazing. I mean, it's something I could probably show you on my computer. I've wrote like 6 letters on my computer that I wanted to send to the prophet, just of what I can see that needs to be more for outreach. And
Yes.
what you're doing, it kind of puts out exactly what was in those letters. It's just it's amazing, and it's bringing together people and bringing people back that needed an outlet. So it's amazing. It's awesome.
Well, thank you so much. And I am so grateful that we got to have you on the podcast. And this is just such an incredible, like, part 2 to Carla's episode. And I just can't thank you enough. And I hope that you stay part of the Comeback family, the Comeback podcast family forever, and that we get to have you and Carla participate in everything that we do, because you guys are just so awesome.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. We will. We will. This is a good thing.
Thank you so much, Shane. It was so great to have you on.
Oh, you too. Thank you.
Surf Clothing is one of our favorite brands. They have been supporting us since the very beginning. We love them so much. I think one of the things that I like about Surf so much is that my husband is literally obsessed, and I brought him in here to share his experience with Surf Clothing. So Jesse, tell us.
I love Surf Clothing. This is the best shirt that I've ever owned for church and professional purposes. It's got 4-way stretch, which makes it really nice because not all the time I'm at my desk. Oftentimes I'm moving and out and about. So it's really nice to have a flexible shirt that moves with me. I know that it's got a mesh collar that I love. I think the purpose of that is really to prevent stains, but it's also super comfortable. It's way more comfortable around my neck. If I'm at church or in business meetings with a tie, or whether I don't have a tie, it's really comfortable. It's got arm vents, which I love because I'm kind of a bigger fella. It helps me so that I can be a bit breathable, and I love it.
And also, you can get 15% off a shirt from Serve by using the code COMEBACK.
This episode is brought to you by a very, very special brand called Memoir. What makes this brand so special is that it's jewelry designed for one simple purpose, which is to help us always remember the Savior. For years, the main outward symbols of discipleship have been things like a cross necklace or a CTR ring, and both are wonderful, but Memoir creates beautiful, faith-inspired pieces that give us more ways to express our discipleship. Each piece carries a quiet reminder of Christ's life and sacrifice, and it makes such a thoughtful gift, whether someone's walking through a really hard season or celebrating a sacred milestone like baptism, temple endowment, or a mission call. I have mine on right now. I have my disciple bracelet. I love it so much. I wear it every single day and I never take it off. It's more than just jewelry. It's a way to keep our Savior close and to wear a reminder of our faith every single day. So go to memorjewelry.com and use code COMEBACK for 10% off. A lot of people have asked us how they can support the podcast, and we have created a Comeback Podcast merch line on our website, www.comebackpodcast.org. All of the money made from the merch goes right back into the podcast. So if you are interested in supporting the podcast and you want to purchase some merch, we would love it. Check it out. Thank you so much for being a supporter of the Comeback Podcast and listening to our episodes. It would mean so much to us if you would like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It helps other people be able to find us, and we want to share this message to everyone.